Hello everyone, my name is Jennifer Baker, and today I'm teaching you how to set up and connect with your Cricut Maker 3. This is the new Cricut Maker 3, not the original Maker that we're setting up tonight. This is the Cricut Kickoff Lesson 1, and we're going to set up our Cricut Maker 3 machines together, step by step. So please pull up a chair here in my studio and let's get started. The Cricut Maker 3 is an awesome computer-guided cutting machine that cuts more than 300 different materials, everything from vinyl, paper, and fabrics to things like basswood, leather, and mat board. The Cricut Maker 3 is the next generation cutting machine, and it introduces the ability to cut smart materials without a mat up to 12 feet long. But it still does everything the original Cricut Maker can do. It uses all the same materials, tools, pens, and mats. So you can cut with or without a mat, it's your choice. Now, in addition to being able to make longer cuts, the Cricut Maker 3 can cut smart materials twice as fast as the original Maker, and it can do print then cut on colored paper as well as white paper, and it's compatible with the optional roll holder to make it easier to cut from a roll of like vinyl. The Cricut Maker 3 has 10 times the cutting power of the Explorer series of cutting machines. It also has the adaptive tool system with a wide range of tools for cutting, scoring, writing, debossing, and engraving. So here I have a brand new and still sealed in the box Cricut Maker 3 cutting machine. Together we're going to open it up, see what's inside, and connect it to a variety of devices. Everything from my Mac and Windows computers to an iPad and an Android. So basically everything, so everyone is covered and knows how to do it, and then we'll do a test cut. My goal is to get you set up and able to cut on your Cricut Maker 3 by the end of this class. It is really easy and you can totally do this. Now I have something special to help you out with this, a totally free printable handbook that goes along with these free lessons. You can download it right now at CRICUTKickoff.com. Just register for the class, which is totally free, no strings attached, and you will get the handbook. I'll be referring to it as we go along during today's lesson. Let me in fact show you a couple things because this is pretty cool. So here it is. I've printed it out, right? So you have to print it out, but you can look at it, however you want to. There's a table of contents here. There's 52 pages in here. Here are all of your lessons so that you can watch everything and refer back to it as much as you want. We're doing lesson 1 today, and here is our checklist of everything we're going to do. Now we have several worksheets in here. This is the worksheet about your Cricut, so you can record everything, what came with it, your serial number, all of those important things so that you have everything right here. Here is our setup checklist that we're going through. This is really handy to have, especially if you are moving and need to reset it up again and don't want to just watch my video again. And then this page is for your Design Space account, so you can record your email address, your password, if you decide to get Cricut access, when it started, all of that good stuff, right? We also have links to our transcripts for the lesson, answers to questions that you might have during lesson 1, and we continue like this through all 3 lessons of Cricut Kickoff. It is really cool. It's all up to date, and that includes when we get to lesson 3, you'll understand more, but I made maps of Cricut Design Space, which show you where everything is. And we'll talk about what Cricut Design Space is a little later, but this is very cool. So if for any reason you did Cricut Kickoff earlier before, this handbook is updated, so you'll want to get it again. This is a really, really great resource to have. And one more thing I want everyone here to know, you are not alone. So I know that sometimes Cricut can seem a little overwhelming or intimidating. I totally get that. And I am here to help, as is my amazing team and our fantastic community of more than 500,000 Cricut crafters. I want you to hang out here with me in my studio, take notes in your handbook as we go along, and if you get stuck, please reach out and ask. We love to help. All of us do, and every member of my community does as well. We are always here to help you succeed, and I mean that sincerely. Nothing brings me more joy than making a difference for you and seeing you make things that make you happy. So, are you ready to unbox this marvel? Let's get this big box opened up and get it all set up. All right, so I'm going to bring it over here. It's heavy. I might need to get some help. All right, so it is still taped. I'm going to switch my camera. I'm going to back this up a little bit. In fact, I'm going to zoom out so we can see a little bit more here. There we go. So here is the tape right here. I'm just going to open that. I'm using a Cricut True Control knife. If you use one, just be cautious, when you're opening it, of course. All right, so in your box here, nice little motivational message. You are meant to make, right? So very true. All right, so inside your box here, here's your welcome packet. We'll go through that in a minute. Here is a box of, oh, no, that's not a box. It's a piece of cardboard. Let's take these out. All right, let's see if we can just lift this up. We can. All right, we'll put this back here. Now note that in the bottom of your box are several things. Here is your USB cable. Here is your power cable. And here are your materials. So let's take this box down and we'll go through each thing together. I also recommend that you save your box. You may need it for moving, for shipping it. If there's ever an issue, if you have to return to Cricut, you've got it. Save your box. Okay. So let's look at everything that came with your Cricut. I'll set this aside for now. We'll look at that in a minute. All right, so this is the welcome packet. And let's just open that up. So inside here is a little message that says, let's get started. We'll refer back to that in a little bit. This is your test material for doing your test in today's lesson. So set this aside somewhere where it's easy to get to. And this is your warranty. Read it. Know what you can and can't do. Cricut is awesome about replacing machines when they need to. So know what is cool and not cool. So you've got that. Okay. And then here's our USB cable, our power cable. And then this packet these are actually full-size materials that you can use to start making things with. They're all smart materials, so you don't need a mat for any of them. There's a full sheet of smart iron-on for like a t-shirt or a tote bag. There's a full sheet of smart vinyl for making a sign or something like that. And there's a full sheet of smart paper, smart cardstock, which is like a sticker cardstock. There's also even a full piece of transfer tape in here for using with your vinyl. So we're not going to use any of these things in Cricut Kickoff. I actually have a whole video that shows you 3 different projects that you can make using just these materials to get started. They're perfect beginner projects. You'll find that on my YouTube channel at youtube.com/JenniferMaker. So we'll just set this aside for now. Okay, so that's all. So we'll keep all these things out. We need all of these. Let's take this out of the bag as well. It comes with the USB cable is 5 to 6 feet, so it's not really that long. So you may want an extension cable. I use a USB extension. I'll show you that when we get to it. And there's our power. Okay, but let's take a closer look at the maker. All right, here it is, still wrapped. Let's get that off. Use my knife right here. It's a good spot to cut it there, and you won't accidentally cut your machine. It's all shrink wrapped, so it stays all nice and safe during shipping. All right. So that's a top-down view of it. You're going to see it from the side too, so don't worry about that. I want to give you a little tour of your machine so you know where everything is. All right, so over here, starting on the left, we have our accessory tray. You can store pens and other tall things in this back one. This front one is shorter. It's good for things like blades or obviously short things. This is the lid. If you open this, it opens up and so does your tray, so it's all ready to go. In the middle here is your blade assembly. You can actually move that if you need to. There is a piece of styrofoam that's used during packing, so remove that. Okay, you don't want that when you do your test cut. So I'm going to move this to the center. So this is the blade assembly. This is clamp A and this is clamp B. Clamp A is for things like pens and the scoring stylus, and clamp B is for blades and things like that. So, and inside clamp B is the fine point blade. It comes pre-installed, but installation is literally just putting it in here and closing the clamp. So it's not like it's that big of a deal. So it is all ready to go. And then over here on the right, we have the power button. And this is the load and unload button. This is the go button, the cut button. And then this is the pause button, which you can use anytime that you need to pause a job, right? All right, and then this is your tray. And this opens up. This is a storage tray right here. And inside here on the left side, you can store blades and blade housings. There's a little magnetic strip here so that things will stay in there and not rattle around too much. And then 2 compartments here for tools and smaller things like that. You can use them for tools. You can use them to hide other things, whatever you want. Most people, I have run into a number of people who don't realize this is here. It's pretty easy to miss. So, all right. And then right up here at the top, this is a little slot. It's just a storage slot, but it's perfect for putting your tablet or phone when you're working. So for example, here's my Android tablet. So you just set it right there, and then, we can use it. Is it turned on? There we go. It's upside down, but whatever. So that you can work with it right here if you want, and you can see what you're doing and you can do your cutting, right? So this nice little slot up here. And I'll close this like this. Let me show you something else that I think is cool. On the end here, I'm going to switch my view so we can see. So on the end right down here, this is a USB port, and we use it for charging our devices like that Android tablet I just showed you, or your iPad or your phone. Even if you're not using your Cricut, as long as it's powered on, this USB port will work, and it's great for charging things. Now, you don't want to plug your USB cable that came with your Cricut into this. That would be a circular loop, right? It is just for charging another device, right? Like a phone or a tablet or something like that. I find it very useful, and a lot of people don't realize it's there. And then on the back here, right back here, we have, this is the USB port because it the maker, excuse me, I need a drink of water. I need more water. All right, so it has a USB port for using with the USB cable that's included, or you can use Bluetooth, right? So it connects either way. And the one next to it, this is the power port right here. And then this slot that you see all back here, this is the slot that the paper or the mat, the material is a better word for it, it will come out here while it's cutting. It doesn't exit here, it just will come out the back as it's moving, right? So you need to make sure that there's nothing obstructing this slot here in order for your Cricut to work properly. And that's basically it. It's nice, simple, easy, cute machine. All right, so we'll set it here. And I think we're now ready to connect it. So we're going to connect it to computers and devices so you can see exactly how it works on your device. So everything is new and fresh so that it's all current as of the time of making this video. All right, so let's connect to our Cricut Maker 3. To do this, you need an internet connection. Cricut says that we need a broadband connection of at least 2 to 3 megabits per second, which really isn't that fast. My connection here at the studio is 100 megabits per second. So most people will have no problem with this internet requirement, okay? You also need a device to connect your Cricut to because a Cricut does not operate independently. So that can be a Windows computer running Windows 10 or later, a Mac running OS 11 or later, an iPhone or an iPad running iOS 14.5 or later, and an Android running version 9 or later, such as the Samsung tablet. You can always check the latest system requirements over at jennifermaker.com/Cricut-requirements. Now I want to show you how to connect to each one of these devices in turn so that you know what to do. So we're going to start with a Mac computer because that's what I have here at my desk and that's what I'm recording this lesson on. And then we'll do a Windows computer and an iPad and an Android tablet. So we're covering all the bases. So to begin, we want to refer back to the materials included with the Cricut Maker 3, right? So this says, to get started, activate your machine at cricut.com/setup. Super easy, right? So I'm going to switch over to my web browser. Here we are. And I'm in Google Chrome. You can use any modern web browser for this. I think Google Chrome is pretty awesome. And right up here, I'm going to type in cricut.com/setup. Just like that. That brings you to this page. Glad you're here. Select a product type to set up. So we are setting up a cutting machine, so we click here. Now we need to choose the right cutting machine. Tonight we're doing the Cricut Maker 3, so I'm going to click on that. Almost there. So we need to download Cricut Design Space to our computers to continue the setup. Now down here, you'll notice that the download now is grayed out. If you have that problem, be sure you check this little checkbox right here next to I agree to Cricut's terms of use and privacy policy. You can click either of these links to read them, and I do recommend you read them, and then click download now. Now, if you're on Cricut Chrome, if you're on Google Chrome like I am, you can to open it, you just click this little arrow right here and do open, and it'll open up for you just like this, ready to install. If you're not on Google Chrome or you don't see this, you can go to your downloads folder and look for the file named Cricut Design Space install. Okay, so but we have this, and so here it is. So to get it installed onto your Mac, you just want to click, hold, drag, and then drag it over on top of this folder right here, and then release your mouse. So click, hold, drag, and release, and it installs right onto your computer. And then to open it up, we double click this icon and we go right to Cricut Design Space, which is right here. I've got mine sorted in alphabetical order. You might have to search for yours, but alphabetical order is a good idea. And then we're going to double click this to open it. Now you may get a message that says, oh, hey, I won't open this because of security or something like that. Mine just wants to make sure that I remember I downloaded it from the internet, which of course I did, and so I can go ahead and open it. If you get a message that says, oh, hey, wait, no, I'm not going to open this, it's just a security thing and it's just a setting on your computer, you can actually come right down to your dock and go to System Preferences and go to Security and give it permission to open this app. This app is safe to use. Okay, but I'm good. I got this message, so we're going to click on Open. All right, so that will open up Cricut Design Space. If you'll see that the version that I'm using is right here at the top. If the version that you see is different than this version, don't panic. Cricut Design Space is always staying up to date as we would want them to. But this setup process that we're doing, it's pretty stable and it should be mostly the same. It's hardly changed in the years that I've been doing this. So this video should be good. All right, so on this page, you will see two options. One is product setup and the other is sign in. Now it's possible that if you already have Cricut Design Space installed, that it'll just take you right into Cricut Design Space. If that's the case, you don't have to worry about any of this next part I'm telling you, right? So you will just want to do product setup, and you can always get to product setup under your settings, right? So product setup is always available. But I'm going to assume that you're new to Cricut Maker 3, and we're going to proceed that way. So I want you to click on product setup. That will bring you to the sign-in screen. It looks like this. I'm going to make my window a little bigger. There we go. All right, so if you're brand new, you want to create a Cricut ID. It is free to create an account in Cricut Design Space. It does not cost anything at all. It doesn't cost anything to use your Cricut once you bought it. There is an optional subscription called Cricut Access that you can choose to get, but you don't have to get it to use your Cricut. I will tell you all about that in lesson 3, okay? So don't worry about that for now. If you do already have an account, you'll want to click on sign in and put in your email address and password. But I'm going to assume that you're new, so we're going to put in our email address, or mine, and we're doing a Maker 3, and it's for 2023. Double check your email address. Make sure you've typed everything right, your domain is right, everything is good to go, so that you don't have any issues logging in or getting your emails. And then for your password, it should be needs to have both upper and lowercase letters, at least one number, at least one special character, and it needs to be at least 8 characters long. There we go. And then your name, be sure to spell that right too. And then your country, where you live, you want to select that as well. And then down here, you'll notice that the Create Cricut ID box is grayed out, and you can't click it, right? Nothing happens. Again, we need to click I agree to the Cricut Terms of Use and Privacy Policy to get that button to turn green so we can continue on. So I click that. All right, and the next screen we see will have us choose what we're going to do. We want to set up a smart cutting machine, so we click on that. And then we need to choose our Cricut. We're doing a Cricut Maker 3, so let's click that. Okay, now we need to prepare our workspace. Make sure you've cleared at least 10 inches or 25 centimeters of space behind your Cricut Maker 3. So, looking at the Cricut Maker, I want you to see what I mean by this. So, when you're using your Cricut, your mat will come in on this side here, and it'll come through back here. So it'll move back and forth like this. So you need to be sure you have space back here for your Cricut mat, right? If you put it up against a wall and it hits the wall, like right here, you'll get an error and you won't be able to cut anything. So make sure you have enough space behind your Maker to operate it properly, okay? All right, so we're good. We got enough space. All right, we can then go to the next screen in the setup, find an outlet. So we're going to plug the Cricut Maker 3 into a wall outlet, or it can be a power strip, or it can be an extension cord, just, needs to be a good one. And then we're going to power it on. Okay, so let's flip it back around. And I'll switch my camera back over here. And here is our cables, or our ports. So this is the end that goes into your Cricut. So this is always fun. It's like, how do I get it in when I'm not looking at it? All right, it goes in right there. We got it. And then this end here goes into a wall outlet or an extension cord. I'm just going to use an extension cord. I have it sitting right here. This is not a polarized plug. I do want to note that if you have another Cricut, the Cricut Maker 3 is the power cable is specifically for this one. So they're not interchangeable, right? And you'll see it says which one it's got its name right on it. And once it has power, this little light on the end lights up, right? So if you're having any issues with power, make sure that this light is lighting up here. All right, so we've got it plugged in, and let's flip it around and power it on. All right, so we open up the lid and the power button is right here. So it's powered on. Perfect, that's exactly how it should sound. So it's all powered on. Let's go to the Cricut Design Space and see what our next step is. So we're gonna click on Next. Okay, so now we need to connect our Cricut Maker 3. And you can choose either USB or Bluetooth. I'm going to show you USB first, and then later on when we do Windows and iPad and Android, I'll show you Bluetooth, okay? But you can choose. I personally recommend USB. It is faster and more reliable. So if you can use USB, you should. If you need to use an extension cord, you should do that as well. So let me show you. So here is our Cricut. I am using a 12-foot extension cord. My computer is actually over here quite a ways, right? I can see it, but while it probably would reach, there'd be a big old cord across my workspace. We don't want that. So I use an extension cable, and it's amazing because then I have all the reliability of a US cable, but it doesn't have to be like sitting right next to it. So I highly recommend this. I use my USB cable whenever I can. Okay, you don't have to. You can use Bluetooth. And of course, if you have a mobile device, you don't have a choice because you can't use a USB cable with a phone or a tablet. But if you have a computer, I recommend USB. Okay, so switch back over here. Here is my extension cable right here, and I'm going to go ahead and plug it in. There we go. So it's plugged in on one end, and this is attached to my computer, right? And then we'll plug it in. Oops, I just disconnected it. Let's fix that. There we go, attached. All right, so it goes right into the back, and let me show you that because I want you to see. Let's close this, flip it around. So here in the back, this is where the end of your USB cable goes. And there is a little icon on that, you see there? That's the top of your plug. So it goes in just like that. Okay, now when we're using our Cricut, we want to make sure that all of these plugs are out of the way of the pass-through slot back here, right? So just move everything off to the side. Don't let those cables hang out right behind it. Your mat can like hit them or something when you're working, and you don't want that. It'll just mess up your project. Okay, so let's flip this around and we'll arrange our cables so that nothing is in front of anything else. So put this down here. Here we go. And then this one around here. So now the cables are right here on the end. They're not in the way of anything. There we go. Perfect. Okay, so back over in Cricut Design Space, we're going to use USB. So let's go ahead and choose USB. If you wanted to use Bluetooth, you would click this one instead. All right, so it says to put the USB cable in. I already did that part. And then down here it says please wait. So it's looking for your Cricut Maker 3 right now. Sorry, I need a drink. This is my 5th video of the day. All right, so Cricut Maker 3, it sees it. So when it shows up here like this and it says USB, that means it's good to go. If you have an issue, right? If you need to use Bluetooth, you can. On the Mac, to do Bluetooth, let's go to a different screen here. You'll want to go down to your system preferences down here in your dock or wherever your dock is, right? Open up system preferences, and this is the main screen of system preferences, and you want to click on Bluetooth. Okay, make sure Bluetooth is turned on, and then look for it here in your list, right? It's usually down here, right? And because you haven't connected to it yet, right? And then you just press connect. And then once you do that, you can connect to it on your computer. And you just go back to Cricut Design Space and you'll have the option to select. It'll show up in this box here. But we've got USB, so we're good to go. All right, so I'm going to click continue. Now we need to activate our Maker 3, and we want to assign it to this Cricut ID. So this is a great time to double check that you have the right email address. By the way, this email address is not a real address for me. Don't try to write to me on this address. If you need to write to me, write to hello@jennifermaker.com. This is just an address for setting up my Cricut. You, of course, would want to use your real address. If this is not the correct email address, click Not Your Email and change it right now. But everything looks good. Click I agree to Cricut's terms of use and privacy policy again, and then click Activate. All right, so it's going to update to get you the latest features. So note down here, it says it's rebooting the machine. It says stay connected and powered on during the update. So don't go mess with your machine or anything like that. If you're using a mobile device right now instead of a computer, don't walk away with your device. Just let it do its thing. I don't know how long it takes. It depends. When I was doing it last night, most of them were really fast, but I had one that was really slow, and I don't know why. This one looks like it could be slow. I mean, usually this little bar here starts filling in, and it hasn't started filling in yet. So let's give it a couple seconds to see how it's doing. Okay, so if this happens, because I had this happen last night too, you just kind of want to, I think what I had to do was restart Cricut Design Space. Oh, wait. I am being impatient, I can see, because I can see it started. So don't be impatient like me. Give it some time. So the bar will show. Of course, how fast it is going to depend on your internet. Now, my internet's pretty fast, so maybe everyone just got their Cricut Maker 3s and they're all working on doing what we're doing right now. And so the servers are really busy. Joan says hers was slow too. So yeah, it could just be, I mean, this is actually the busiest day for Cricut, the day after Christmas. I don't know if anyone knows that. That's why I'm here helping you out. Because people get Cricuts for Christmas. And so of course they want to set them up and play with them. Of course they do. So the day after Christmas, December 26th, which is the day that I'm recording this video, is the busiest day for Cricut. So chances are that we're all just trying to set up our Cricuts at the same time. Okay, well, it might take a little while, so it could take a while. I mean, it looks really slow to me. I'll probably cut this part out of the video. So if anyone has a question, I'm going to scroll to see if anyone has any questions right now, since we're just waiting. Let's see here. Can you use the extension cable with 2 Cricuts? I have 2, well, 3, a long story. And I'm trying to set them up so I can actually use the 2 easily. You can, but remember that, you know, one cable, it's still sharing, right? It's not going to give you like extra juice or whatever, right? My recommendation is a power strip, you know, not just an extension cable, right? I would use a properly surge protected power strip if I had multiple Cricuts on. For example, I have one here at my desk. It's on the side of my desk, and I use that whenever I'm doing a live video and I plug in all my devices there. It's a power strip and it's really easy. It's actually got USB on it as well, so I can charge my devices also. So if you have more than one Cricut, get yourself a good power strip that, you know, is got all the bells and whistles, and I think you'll be happier. Just remember that it's not going to give you extra power. So every outlet in your house is rated for a certain amount of power. So if you put too many devices and they're all powered on onto one circuit, then it can overload it. So sometimes, you know, you have to kind of distribute things, especially once you start doing things like heat presses and stuff like that. Just a little tip I learned. If you ever start up your Cricut and you see your power button is red, that's usually an indicator of a power issue, like you're not pulling enough power for your Cricut. It basically means there's an error. So there's other reasons that it could be red, but in my experience, when you're not even using it yet, but that power button is glowing red, you have a power issue and you should try a different outlet, okay? Because it might not be that there's anything wrong with your Cricut. It could be something wrong with your outlet or your extension cable or your power strip or something like that. Kelly says the Jeopardy tune is playing in my head. Lori asks if it's compatible with Chromebooks, and officially no, but when we get to the Android section, you'll see that you can download an app from the Google Play Store and you can use that on your Chromebook. So pay attention to the Android setup section when I get there, and that will be the instructions that you follow for your Chromebook. We're almost there, guys. None of the others had anything like this today. This is the longest. All right, it's almost done. There we go. Setup is complete. You can hear the Cricut Maker's blade assembly moving right now, right? All right, so your Cricut Maker 3 is now set up and registered to your Cricut account. So we're going to click the next button. All right, let's test your machine. To make sure your machine is working perfectly, we'll cut this vinyl decal. All right, so before we continue on with our first test cut, we are going to pause so we can talk about Windows and iPad and Android so everyone knows what to do on their device. So I'm going to hop over to Windows and we're going to go through the same process, but it'll be a lot faster. Just a few minutes on each one. So if you're not using those devices, you can go get a drink right now and come back. Otherwise, stay here and watch. And you never know, I might share extra tips along the way. Setting up a Cricut Maker 3 on Windows. Go to your web browser and type in cricut.com/setup. And that will bring you to the download page. So actually it brings you to the product option page. So click cutting machine and then choose your Cricut, the Cricut Maker. And then you get the download page. So say that you agree and then click on download now. Now, if you're on Google Chrome, you can click this little arrow here and choose open when done. And if you do that, it will automatically open as soon as it finishes downloading and start installing for you. It's super easy. If you don't have that option, you can look in your downloads folder. Once it opens, you'll see this, two buttons at the bottom. You want the product setup button, so click on that. There we go. So if you are new, you'll want to create a Cricut ID. If you're not new, click sign in and then put in your email address and password and then click on sign in. Otherwise, create a new and free Cricut ID. And so put in your email address, double check that it's all correct. Put in your password, at least 8 characters, upper and lowercase, numbers, and special characters. And of course, you want your name. Double check that you spell that right as well. And tell them that you agree to the terms of service and then click the green button. And that will bring you to the product type page. So click on Smart Cutting Machine and then choose your Cricut. So we're going to click on Cricut Maker 3 in the upper left right there. And then we see the same things we saw before, preparing the workspace, powering on the Cricut, and all of that good stuff. And now we want to connect it. So if the USB is the same, but if you want to do Bluetooth, you can select Bluetooth, and then you need to go turn on Bluetooth in Windows. Okay, so to do that, you go to your settings and you search for Bluetooth. It's the easiest way to find it. It looks like this on Windows 10. And then you just want to make sure Bluetooth is on, of course, and click Add Device or look for the Cricut Maker 3 in your list here. And then choose Pair. If you need a pairing code, it's 400000. Typically, you don't need that with the Cricut Maker 3, however. And then return to Cricut Design Space and click Continue. You will see it right here in the box if it is properly selected, just like we saw before. And then you activate your Cricut Maker 3, make sure everything looks good. You want your email address to be proper, and then click I agree and activate. And then your setup is complete. Click Next, and that brings you to your test cut, just like we saw on the Mac. Super easy. All right, now let's look at the iPad. Setting up a Cricut Maker 3 on iPad and iPhone. So for this, you want to go to Safari, open up a new page, and go to cricut.com/setup. It's the same URL for all of them, nice and easy to remember. All right, and then you want to tap on Cutting Machine. And then you're going to tap on your Cricut. So we're setting up a Cricut Maker 3. So we tap on Cricut Maker there in the family, in the middle. And then agree to the terms of use and privacy policy. And then tap on Download Now. And this will take you to the App Store, right to the Cricut Design Space app. And you'll want to tap on the Get button right there, and it will download to your device for you. It'll always download the most current version. How long it takes will depend on the strength of your internet connection. And when it's done, you can tap open to open up the app on your iPad or iPhone. Let it know that you want to use Bluetooth and allow notifications. And then it will bring you to these two buttons. Look familiar? So again, we want the setup button because the setup brings us to all of the options. So here's our login screen, just like before. If you already have an account, tap on sign in and put in your email address and password. If you don't, tap on create Cricut ID and put in your email address. Double and triple check that you got it right. If you don't get it right, you do have an option maybe to change it later, but it could be a pain. Always double check your email addresses. I can't tell you how many errors happen because of messed up email addresses. And put in a password that you remember. Don't forget you can use your Cricut Handbook to record both your email address and your password, so there's no guessing in a couple of weeks when you come back to use your Cricut. All right, and then don't forget your name and your last name, your first and last name. Again, make sure you spell them right. If Cricut ever needs to look you up, it's good to have this information correct in here. All right, and then select your country. You can tap on that and you can start typing in the first few characters of your country and then choose it from the list. And then at the bottom, you'll see it's grayed out until you press the I agree to Cricut's terms of use and then press the button. And that brings you to your machine. So you'll want to choose the machine that you're setting up, which is the Cricut Maker 3 at the top. So we tap on that to continue on. And then to get connected, we plug in our Maker 3 and power it on, and we need to pair it. So you usually need to go make sure Bluetooth is turned on, especially if you just tap on this and you don't see anything at all. If it's blank here, you need to go turn on Bluetooth and then connect it to your Maker 3. So to do this, you want to go to your home screen on your iPad or your iPhone. Here's my home screen. And then you want to go to your settings. It looks like this icon that you see here with the gray and the gear on it. And then you want to tap on Bluetooth over in the panel on the left side. Make sure it's turned on. So you want to have that green toggle green, right? And then look for your device in the list. I don't see my Maker 3, but I'm sure it's there somewhere. Anyway, so then you can, if you need a pairing code, you can use 4 zeros. But once you've got it paired, you can return to the app, which is the icon is right here, and it should show up in your list just like this. And then you can continue on. And it'll update it if it needs to. Give it a little time, of course, because it wants to make sure you have the latest and greatest features. And when it's all done, it'll tell you you're good to go and you can tap on continue. Now, here's the Cricut Access offer. As I mentioned, the Cricut Access offer it's better to do this trial when you are on lesson 3 or later so that you actually get your full 30 days out of it. So if you're just setting up your machine right now, I recommend you choose skip, right? So that you can always activate your trial later on, right? So if you don't see the skip, just scroll and it'll show up. And then you want to choose an image set to test. You can pick any of these to test, just select one. And then we're now up to the same stage that we were, with our Mac and Windows computer. So now one more, the Android. Again, if you're on a Chromebook, again, not officially supported, but still seems to work for most people. This is the setup you'll want to use. All right. Setting up a Cricut Maker 3 on Android. So you'll want to go to your browser, which should be Google Chrome on your Android device, and tap in cricut.com/setup. And just like before, that brings you to this page, and you'll want to tap on Cutting Machine, and then choose your Cricut. So we're going to choose that one in the middle. All right, now we need to again agree to the terms of use and tap Download Now. That takes us right to the Google Play Store, and we can tap Install to get the software. Give it a little while to download and install to your device. It's pretty quick. And when it's all set, you'll want to tap on Open, and it will open up the app for you. Nice and easy. I recommend doing it this way so you know you're always getting the right version of Cricut Design Space. So there we go. So tap open. All right, so here it is. I want to pause for just a moment. And for anyone who's surprised by the way that this looks, because you may have noticed I was in a wider format before, but in Cricut Design Space on the Android, it only currently works in portrait mode. So if you are in the wider landscape mode, it will auto rotate for you to this taller format. So don't be surprised by that. And no, you can't rotate it to landscape currently. I hope that changes. Right now, this is the format that we have for it, this portrait mode format. All right, we'll continue on. So at the bottom, you see the same familiar 2 buttons. Again, you want to tap on Machine Setup. And then that brings you to the sign in screen. So if you already have an account, you can go ahead and sign into it. There's no need to create a new account. But if you are new to Cricut, you'll want to click on Create Cricut ID and then put in your email address. Again, double and triple check that you got it right. And your password, again, at least 8 characters, upper and lowercase letters, numbers, and at least 1 special character. Don't forget to make a note of both your email address and your password in your handbook. And then put in your name, spell it right, unlike me. And be sure to select your country if you're not in the United States. And then at the bottom, you'll need to agree to Cricut's terms of use and then click the green button to continue on. All right, and then choose your Cricut. I've got the Cricut Maker 3, which you can see at the top of the list. And now you need to get connected. Again, we plug in the Maker and you want to tap Connect to continue. Now, if you don't see your Maker 3 in this little box here, because sometimes it will just automatically connect for you, but if it doesn't, and there's nothing here, you want to tap on that green plus button to go find it. If it still doesn't show up for you, you need to go to your Bluetooth settings on your Android. Go to your settings, which look like this, and then tap on Bluetooth. Make sure Bluetooth is turned on, and then look in the available devices to see if you see your Maker 3. I see mine in the list right down there. And then you select it and you compare it. If you need a pairing code, use 4 zeros, 0, 0, 0, 0, and then tap on pair. Then go back to the app and it'll let you connect. And so then you can continue on. Sometimes it finds it for you and sometimes it doesn't. All right, so we're connecting to the Cricut Maker 3 via Bluetooth, which of course is the only way we're going to do it on an Android. Now this is the Cricut Access screen. I recommend you skip it until lesson 3. And that brings us to the test cut page. Pick one of these to do your test cut with, and that brings you all the way up to the same point at which we are for all of our devices now. So we've set up on Mac, Windows, iOS, and Android. Everything that there currently is, so everyone should be covered, right? Okay, now let's do our test cut. So I'm going to go back to Cricut Design Space, and it says let's test our machine. This is where we were for all of them, so we're going to go ahead and tap on Next right here. All right, prepare for cut. Confirm that your fine point blade is loaded and secured into clamp B. All right, so here is our Cricut Maker. Let's open it back up. Still powered on, as you can see here. Here is clamp B. It says B right on it. By the way, you don't have to remember that. So make sure it's in here. If it's a brand new Cricut Maker 3, it should be in here. If you're borrowing it from someone or it's a used one, you may need to put it in. You just open up this clamp right here and you just drop it right in here like this. Then you close this part here and then you close this like this. Super easy, okay? That's how you change all your blades if you need to. We'll talk about blades in lesson 2. All right, so we've done that. So back in Cricut Design Space, we go to the next screen. And it says, using both hands, insert the smart vinyl sheet that came with your machine and then push it under the guides until the rollers grip the material. Okay, so here is the piece of smart vinyl that came with our machine. So it's just a little like half sheet, right? It's for our test. Note that on the back, it actually is labeled. It says smart vinyl right on it, so you always know what it is. It actually is a piece of removable vinyl. It's like it says it right on the liner, which you can see right here, Cricut removable vinyl. Okay, so what we're going to do is it says using both hands. I'm going to get behind it. Normally you'd want to do this from the front, of course, but I'm going to guide it between these two guides. And actually, let's change our view so we can see this a little better. There we go. Okay, so there's guides here on the lid, right? And there's guides right here. There's one here and there's one here. Oops, you can't see that one over here. This one over here. Let's actually, let me point this closer to. There we go. I want you to see both. Oops, there. And it's at a funny angle. We'll move it before we actually do it. So there's one right here, and there's one over here. You see that one right there. So your vinyl needs to go between these two guides, and it needs to go under here, right? And then you push it up against the rollers. Okay, that's important. Okay, so we've done that. So Design Space then says, press the flashing load and unload button. Okay, so I'm going to go back here and we're going to put this back like this so that we can see. I'm going to move this view a little bit too. There we go. Okay, so I want you to note that the load button is flashing. That's the load button. Whenever there's a flashing button on Cricut, that usually means that's the button that it wants you to push. That's the one to pay attention to, right? So I'm going to press lightly against this while I press the load button. It's going to pull it in. It's going to make sure that it has enough material for the design that you selected, and it's good to go. And then this is the blade assembly getting into position. All right, so Cricut Design Space says, when you're ready to start the cut, press the flashing go button. All right, so the flashing button is now that little arrow, the go button, right? So we're going to press that, and it's going to cut. It's actually going to do it really quickly. So before I press it, because you'll be amazed at how fast it is, because we're using smart material and it's a pretty simple design. It will be over before you know it. So it's going to pull the material in. You will see the blade assembly move back and forth, and you'll see the material move in and out, and it will cut it. I also want to note that we're not using a mat. So for anyone who's ever used a Cricut before, we do not need to use a mat when we're using the smart material, which is pretty cool. So it's very easy, very easy. So I'm going to go ahead and press the button, and we're going to watch it. See what I mean about it being fast? I think it's cutting the little letters right now. And that's the outline of it. And then that's it. It's done. So super fast. All right. And then, it kind of pushes out a little bit, but not all the way. Like I can't remove it right now, right? You have to unload it. And Design Space, lets you know what to do. So it says, press the flashing load and unload button to remove it. So let's zoom out again so you can see the flashing button. There it is. So there's the flashing button. We just press this, and there is our material. And here is our cut. Let's see if I can get that into the light so you can see it. There it is. See? Lovely. All right, so we have done it. Let me show you in the overhead. Let me zoom in a little bit here so you can see that nice and clear. There. So look how lovely that is. I love the Cricut and how precise and beautiful its cuts are. It's really amazing. Okay, so Cricut Design Space tells us that our test is complete. To confirm a clean cut, peel the vinyl decal from the liner. So we can do that. Normally, I would use a weeding tool to ever remove vinyl, but this is a very simple project, so we can give it a try. So I recommend, if you want to try this too, that you flip it over and bend your liner back like this. It'll start to lift up a little bit like this, see? And then very carefully remove it, because it's pretty easy to actually kind of rip this, because normally we would use a weeding tool. We'll talk about what a weeding tool is tomorrow. I'm going to kind of do it on the side here, see if that does a little better job. There we go. So this is obviously a very clean cut. And here is our sticker. Isn't that awesome? So you can use this if you want. You can put this on your Cricut. It's removable vinyl, so it won't damage anything. You put it anywhere you want, really, and it won't hurt anything, because it's not as sticky, basically, as permanent vinyl. So yeah, I guess we could stick it on there right now. What the heck? Where should we put it? Maybe on the door? There we go. Smooth it all down. There. Perfect. All right. So we did it. We set up our Cricut Maker 3 without any issues. We did it on the Mac, Windows, Android, iPhone, iOS, iPad, both using USB and using Bluetooth. So we did it all the ways. And yeah, awesome. So if you have any questions about how to set up your Cricut Maker 3, I would love to help you. Just let me know. Leave your question below this video, or better yet, come ask in our awesome Cricut Crafters group at jennifermaker.com/CricutCrafters, where you can get help and guidance from over 500,000 Cricut crafters just like you. If you want to also learn about how to set up your Cricut Joy, your Cricut Explorer Air 2, your Cricut Explorer 3, or Original Maker, I have lessons on those cutting machines as well. Get links to those classes at CricutKickoff.com. Now tomorrow I'll be back for lesson 2, and I'll show you all of the necessary materials and supplies that you may use for your Cricut Maker 3. I'll also let you know what you really don't need, so that you're not overwhelmed by all the stuff, because there's really a lot of stuff. So until next time, in our next class, this is Jennifer Maker reminding you to craft a life you love.